So I think it's time, as I keep hinting at it, to talk about universal karma release. So what happens is, throughout the person's entire personal history, in this life and all other lifetimes, what we are doing is we're addressing an issue, and the issue is karmic issues as a result of relationship difficulties. And I mean any relationship difficulty at all. So one day, years ago, I remember going into a post office to buy something from behind the counter, and within 30 seconds I got really pissed off and angry with the person behind the counter, and I shouted at that person, reprehensible behaviour, wrist absolutely slapped for doing that. With my ability as a shaman, I can go back in time and apologise to that person. That's what I like to do with such situations. But getting to the point here, all of us in our interactions with people end up at times doing things we'd rather not have done. Things perhaps we could feel ashamed of, things that really was not appropriate, things that were plain out and out wrong. The idea of the universal karma release is to actually deal with this. So what I've been able to offer before the universal karma release is called relationship coding, and with that what I'm doing is I'm working on the connection between the two people. The idea is, if two people have had some issues between each other where they've been struggling, unpleasantness, negative energy exchange between the two of them, shouting, argument, all the rest of it, maybe even violence, whatever it is that's gone on between those two people that's disturbed things, then when I travel into the energy realms and I'm not looking at the client, I'm not looking at the person that's got the relationship with, all I'm looking at is the connection between the two, and I see it like a cord. And if the cord is in good condition, it looks like a really thick golden connection between the two, and it seems quite fluid and even and homogeneous, but definitely golden. If the person has had a lot of strife with the other person concerned, then you will see damage, and you soon find out what the real story is here, because if there is a true connection between those two individuals, no matter what terrible stuff has been going on between those two people, you will find that the centre of the cord is pure, undamaged, and it's a periphery that may be frayed, bits knocked off, lumps hacked out, loose bits like spaghetti dangling in the ether. It can look in all sorts of dodgy states, but that's a really important key for me. I can always tell that. Whereas if it's rotten all the way through, then it's only a matter of time before it's going to go, no question about it. So in the traditional method, what I do is I call upon the energy of the sun, our yellow light, and that's a yellow sunlight, I call it into the cord. It spreads throughout the cord to make it completely full of sunlight, and that automatically detoxes the cord. So any poisons, any toxins in there, any grey or black patches, any disease, degeneration, literally gets cleaned up. When that's been done, then the next stage we do is we install what I call the one-way valves. And the one-way valves are to stop people from stealing each other's energy. And this does happen in relationships quite often. You can be in a relationship with someone and one person will be stealing the energy from the other. Well, once these are in place, that can't happen anymore. And of course, sometimes that could cause a person to leave if they are energy stealers, because that's all they've been after all the time. Then they'll have to go and look for their energy source from somewhere else. So that's what we used to do. That's the old method. And it's rather like the same story as with traditional shamanism doing the soul retrieval. Traditional shaman, you actually retrieve one soul at a time. So this is what I was doing now, as I was karmically repairing one relationship at a time. So it's like how I didn't think of this earlier, I just don't know, but finally it dawned on me, this is incredibly inefficient. We want something more efficient than that. So what's happened to me recently, in the month of February, I got upgrades again, but this time I was not taken offline, so I carried on doing my healing work. I even did the training of my first, very soon to be accredited USR practitioner. All that happened while I was having these upgrades. So during this week I had the word upgrade coming into my head, and then I had a phone conversation with someone who's intuitive, and she said to me, "Do you realise you've been upgraded all week?" And I went, "Duh, I should have realised that. That's why the word upgrade was coming into my head all week." So certainly I was. And so the universal karma release was born. I'll be really clear, this is not a separate service. This is part of the universal soul retrieval package. So it's something else that's been added to what we already offer. and the only people that receive it separately are people who've already had the USR but never had this. So this is the way it works. First thing that happens is my helpers. This is work which is all done through the helpers. The guides are not involved in this in any way at all. They are simply witnessing. So first thing that happens, the helpers attach one of their semi-physical medical devices to the client's energy body. Very simple function. All it does is it just causes all the energy centers to become balanced. Very simple process. It takes very little time, all done within seconds. Then that device is disconnected and a whole series of other medical devices are connected to the client, and they're all activated, and this takes a little bit more time. Thanks to the helpers, that's all organised. So when these devices are connected to the person, what these devices are doing is they're effectively going into every single relationship that that person has ever had, whether it's been a full intimate sexual relationship or a 10-second interchange in a shop doorway. Whatever it is, that some karma has been created that needs to be adjusted, then that's what these machines do. These machines basically adjust that karma to the point that the person will be aware when they've had the karma release that the main thing that they feel is a sense of lightness. And following that, if asked and pressed a little bit more, they'll also talk about this increasing sense of peace. And the lightness and the peace is literally because what karma is, unresolved karma is literally heavy stuff that drags at you. So once you're released from this stuff, you feel lighter. And so this is what these particular machines do. So once the adjustment process is completed, the machines have ways to let us know that their job is done, the machines are disconnected, and then the person is ready to continue the universal soul retrieval, have all their other processes, and then the job's done. So there's a particular phrase that comes to my mind more than any other phrase in this subject, because I've been for 3 weeks now writing reports day after day after day, all including universal karma release, and every single time there's two words that have to go in. It's like, it's not my opinion, it's mandatory, and the words are clean slate. That's what the intention is here. This is what our unbending intent is to create a situation where you have a clean slate with yourself and other beings. And I use that very deliberately because you can have karmic issues with an animal. Supposing you ill-treated an animal when you were much younger, you think that's going to go away. Well, it's got to be released and resolved, so the karma adjustment process will give you a clean slate with any human, but also with any non-human too, where karma's been generated by actions that were perhaps a little thoughtless at the time. So when you have a new interaction with someone that maybe there was some past issues going on, it's not to guarantee that you're going to be sweetness and light with each other. You may, in fact, have such a habitual nature that if you chose to, you could set up the same silliness between each other. But what you do know is there's not going to be this dead weight of karma dragging at your heels, and that's what makes the work so valuable, I reckon.